So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Adam Sherman, and I'm the Research Director for the IFOPA. I would like to first say thank you for joining this session of the family gathering. I'm very sorry that we're not able to be together in person this year, but maybe one of the silver linings of having this virtual format is that we're able to reach parts of this world that we would not otherwise be able to connect with. So the name of my presentation and talk is how the IFOPA supports research, which is an interesting topic, given that the IFOPA does not hire teams of scientists, nor do we have our own research laboratories. So how we accomplish this goal is really the focus of today's discussion. And we really do so in four main key ways. First, we collaborate with researchers and scientists, and we bring these individuals together to solve key challenges in FOP. We develop and make research tools available that helps lower the barriers for conducting research and also helps to de-risk the science. Third, we provide research funding to researchers and scientists to support everything from early stage research all the way through developing new treatments for FOP. And finally, and importantly, we work with biotech and pharmaceutical companies who are really the experts in terms of how to develop these drugs, take the compounds, investigational drugs through clinical trials, and then work with regulators to make these approved medicines. And we do this really for one reason and one reason only, and that's to live up to our mission to support the development of new treatments for FOP and eventually a cure. So now I'm going to speak about the first pillar of our research strategy, which is FOP collaborations and connectivity. One of the more important meetings that the IFOPA supports is the Drug Development Forum, or DDF. Last year, we completed our fourth DDF meeting in Orlando, Florida. This is a meeting that tracks researchers from all over the world. Last year, we had over 120 different scientists from 20 different countries around the world. We also had a variety of different stakeholders. We had FOP clinicians, academic researchers. We had individuals from pharmaceutical companies and members of the FOP community. Last year, we were also fortunate enough to have a representative from the FDA attend our two-day meeting, which really enriched the discussion. So what I really love about this meeting is that this is not only a great opportunity to share the latest data and information about FOP, it's also a great opportunity to bring researchers together to really foster new collaborations going forward. Our next meeting will be next year in Amsterdam, Netherlands. So just want to highlight two other points of connectivity that the IFOPA supports. The first is in FOP Immunology. The IFOPA teamed up with Drs. Kaplan and Shore to help organize a FOP Immunology workshop. And this was a meeting really to shine a light on the role of the immune system in FOP, which was an area that we felt was not being actively addressed. We brought 18 researchers together, 9 FOP experts and 9 immunologists. And this meeting really helped to spark interest in this field. And today, the IFOPA is supporting several grants researching the role of immunology in FOP. The next collaboration is the FOP Biomarker Consortium. Briefly, biomarkers are just the measures that reflect the state of a body. These markers can go up or down and let us know a little bit of what's going on in a given disease. Biomarkers can be very helpful, not only for researchers, but these biomarkers can be used in clinical trials, and clinicians can also use biomarkers to track the progress of a given disease. So given the overall importance of biomarkers and the fact that we really don't have a biomarker today, the IFOPA helped to organize this consortium with the goal of identifying novel new biomarkers for FOP. Again, this is just another example of how the IFOPA plays in this role of bringing researchers and scientists together to tackle key issues in FOP. So now I just want to highlight some of our tools that we've developed for the research community. And our first tool is the FOP Mouse Model. When you have an investigational drug that you think might work in a given disease, one of the things you want to do is test that medicine in animal models, and you'd prefer to test it in an animal model that is representative of the given disease, like FOP. Fortunately, we do have FOP mouse models. However, if you're an investigator or a scientist and your lab doesn't currently have the FOP mouse model, gaining access can be quite lengthy and very bureaucratic. And we've heard this complaint over the years from a number of scientists. And this is why the IFOPA decided to develop and oversee the distribution of our own FOP mice. Our FOP mice has the R206H mutation, which is the most common mutation in FOP. And our mice does express extra bone growth in a manner that's similar to people. So this allows researchers to be able to study FOP further, and also allows scientists to test new medicines for FOP. I'm pretty excited that our FOP mice are now in labs around the world. So this is, again, furthering and lowering the barriers for conducting FOP research. So our mouse model is being overseen by Dr. Daniel Perrin at Emory University, and just want to give a quick acknowledgement to all the work he does to oversee our mice colony. And we did receive a grant from La Jolla Pharmaceuticals for the creation of our mice, so we're very grateful. So another research tool that the IFOPA has developed is a FOP biobank. And a biobank is just a collection of biosamples that are stored for future research. People with FOP or their family members can make donations of their blood, urine, saliva, or teeth that naturally fall out to the IFOPA biobank. And from your donations, scientists from all over the world can study FOP in greater detail and even help identify new biomarkers. And this is why biomarkers can be very powerful tools in rare diseases like FOP. And biobanks are really a great way for the FOP community to participate directly in FOP research. If you're interested in participating in our biobank, please visit our virtual booth, which Dr. Daniel Perrin from Emory will be at, and you can speak with our lead investigator, or you can visit ifopa.org/biobank to learn about how to participate in the future. I just want to say that if you've participated in our biobank already, thank you so much for your generous contributions to our biobank. But please know that you can donate to the biobank multiple times. And in fact, the more you donate over time, the more valuable your samples will actually become. So the IFOPA would like to thank the in-kind contributions and support from our investigators, including Dr. Daniel Perrin, but also Dr. Ed Xiao at UCSF, Dr. Eileen Shore at UPenn, and also Dr. Robert Pignolo at Mayo. We are grateful for their contributions to our biobank. And biobanks are actually quite expensive to run, so we have taken sponsorships to support the maintenance of our biobank. So we're thankful to our sponsors, Blueprint, Ipsen, and Regeneron. So this year, we've launched a new program, our preclinical drug testing program in collaborations with Dr. Robert Pignolo and Haitao Wang at Mayo Clinic. This program allows for researchers to send their drug candidates to the Mayo Clinic, and they will test these drug candidates in 2 different models of FOP. We believe that this program will lower the threshold for testing new drugs in FOP. And by lowering this threshold, we believe this will help accelerate the identification of new potential treatments for FOP. We're also hopeful that this program will spur the testing of combinations of new treatments, as well as the testing of repurposed drugs, which are just drugs that are approved for other diseases, but where scientists think that there might be some benefit potentially in FOP. We just launched this program this year during COVID. So even with those barriers in front of us, we've already started testing 3 new compounds to date. So we're pretty excited. So the last tool I just want to briefly mention is our FOP registry. This is an area where we spend a lot of time and resources in developing and maintaining this important asset on behalf of the research community. Registries can be very powerful tools in rare diseases like FOP and really help us to uncover a lot of new information and insights about the condition. This is really also something that you can directly participate in from anywhere around the world, so long as you have internet access. So I strongly encourage that you learn more about a registry if you are not currently participating. And one great opportunity is tomorrow, where our registry project manager, Sammy Kyle, will be giving a presentation on the FOP registry. So I hope you're able to check out her presentation. So I'll just move on to grant funding. So the IFOPA does provide money to institutions to conduct FOP research, and there's no university the IFOPA has supported longer than the University of Pennsylvania. And this relationship really dates back to the late 1980s when our founder, Jeannie Pieper, collaborated with Drs. Kaplan and Zasloff to study FOP research. And this relationship continues right to today, where the IFOPA provides grant support to the Center of FOP Research at the University of Pennsylvania. And these funds go to support everything from very early stage research all the way through translating new potential medicines for FOP. This is a truly wonderful collaboration that the IFOPA has established with the University of Pennsylvania. It's a very important relationship and partnership that we have today. The IFOPA has also established a competitive grant program that awards FOP investigators with research funding. This is one of my favorite programs here at the IFOPA. This program was started 5 years ago as a way to support research and the development of new therapeutic approaches to treating FOP. The name of this program is ACT for FOP, and ACT stands for Accelerating Cures and Treatments, which I think is a very accurate name for what we're trying to do with this program. So the crux of this program is we have investigators from all over the world who submit applications and proposals for funding to the IFOPA. And we have established an independent scientific advisory board, which you can see here on your right, which reviews these proposals in a blinded fashion and make funding decisions purely based on scientific merit. This is the 5th year of this program, and we've already made award commitments in excess of $1.1 million, which is a truly remarkable amount. And we could not have done this without the very generous support of national FOP organizations, from local fundraising efforts, as well as from individual contributions from select families. So we're very grateful for their support. And today we've generated a very nice portfolio of FOP research that we support through the Act for FOP grant program. To date, we've funded over 22 research grants at 16 different institutions, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. And of these 22, about half, 10 are focused on novel new treatments for FOP. And as mentioned, we've funded over $1.1 million in research commitments. And here we have our FOP drug development chart. You can see that the list of drug candidates are going down in rows. And then you can see the stage of development going across the columns. So for example, you can see that we currently have no drugs approved for FOP. And then you can see that we currently have 7 drugs which are in different stages of clinical trials, meaning they're being tested in people. And then we have 9 drugs that are currently in various stages of earlier research development. And I want to call your attention to these little asterisks that are next to each drug compound. And this just signifies those drugs that we have currently provided support through our Act for FOP grant program. For example, we funded early research at Harvard University to study saracatinib, and now that study has just started to enroll in Europe to study saracatinib in FOP in a phase 2 trial. Now, while this pipeline looks very full and promising, we just have to acknowledge that not all of these drugs will make it to the very end and become approved medicines. In fact, many drugs do fail along the way, and that's why we're committed to putting as many shots on goal as possible, and that highlights further the importance of this program. And again, this allows us really to live up to our mission to find new treatments and ultimately a cure for FOP. And speaking of cures, one of our more recent grants that the IFOPA has made is to the University of Massachusetts to support FOP gene therapy. The investigators for this research is Dr. Jay Shim and Dr. Guangpeng Gao. Dr. Shim is the lead investigator and is also a bone biologist with gene therapy experience. And Dr. Guangpeng Gao, he is the director of the Hooray Gene Therapy Center at the University of Massachusetts. He's the former president of the American Society of Gene and Cell Therapy, and he brings 30 years of direct gene therapy experience and just a wealth of knowledge to this research grant. So I just want to take a pause and mention that while we all believe gene therapy has a lot of promise, we also have to acknowledge that this is a relatively new technology, and I think scientists are still figuring out how to make this work in genetic diseases. And to date, there's only a handful of drugs that are currently approved using gene therapy. And this is why we felt very good with supporting the University of Massachusetts. As you can see here, the University of Massachusetts has a lot of experience in developing gene therapy for a variety of different genetic diseases. Many of these are rare diseases, but also in programs in areas such as osteoporosis, which is a bone-related disease, and in muscle-related diseases like Pompe disease. And just to ensure that the UMass team has the best chance for success, we have organized this gene therapy working group meeting that is comprised of both gene therapy experts as well as FOP disease experts, just to help guide and problem solve for this grant, this important grant to the University of Massachusetts. So the IFOPA also contributes to another grant program sponsored by the Penn Orphan Disease Center. This is the $1 Million Bike Ride program that provides matching grant support for rare diseases. So for every dollar we contribute, the UPenn Orphan Disease Center matches these research dollars. So what's great about this program is it's a great way for us to amplify the amount of money we're able to contribute to FOP research. This program was initially started with the IFOPA back in 2018, wrong century. And already we've been supporting this program for the last 2 years, and we're about to participate in this program this year. So we're expecting to fund 6 different research grants through this program. So our final pillar is supporting pharmaceutical and drug development efforts. So the IFOPA will support any drug developer or clinical trial sponsor that is conducting ethical research according to international regulatory and clinical standards. We help these companies by assisting them to organize and participate in advisory boards, providing direct input into their development programs, and also bringing community insights to help shape their clinical trials. Our interactions with pharmaceutical companies are really to serve one purpose, and that's to help accelerate the development of new treatments for FOP, but also to make sure that the patient voice is accurately captured in these drug development programs. Just to ensure that there are no conflicts of interest, the IFOPA has developed this guideline on our interactions with biotech and pharmaceutical companies, and you can view a copy of this guideline on our website. So the IFOPA has also helped to organize a meeting with FDA called a Fda Listing Session. Here, 12 members of the FOP community, along with the IFOPA, traveled down to Bethesda, Maryland to participate in this meeting. And we were able to share with FDA what it was really like to live with FOP. In FDA's words, they are able to read up and learn about FOP from the literature, but it's much more difficult for them to learn about FOP directly from patients. As you can see, we covered a wide-ranging amount of topics, everything from path to diagnosis, how FOP impacts family members, and also the need for the development of a new treatment for FOP. I would say this was a very successful meeting. We had 15 different divisions from FDA participate in this meeting. And when I say 15 divisions, I don't mean 15 individuals, but that's 15 different offices of the FDA actual participation. So just to show the amount of engagement and interest in FOP from FDA. If you'd like to read more about this meeting, we have developed a short summary, which you can download either from FDA's website or from the IFOPA website. And just to highlight here, you can see just a few number of rare diseases have been able to take advantage of these types of sessions with FDA. So the IFOPA is also helping clinical trial sponsors. We're in the process of developing a patient-reported outcomes instrument called FOP Prompt that brings the patient's voice directly into drug development. Our PR tool will measure symptoms that are most important to people living with FOP. And we plan to validate this tool so that future drug companies and trial sponsors can utilize this tool in their clinical trials. This way we can measure the impact that these drugs are having FOP symptoms, which is an important metric to measure. And of course, this tool will be available eventually in our FOP registry. We plan to work with FDA in the development of this tool just to make sure that it meets regulatory standards and that future clinical trial sponsors have confidence in its validity. So you can look for more information about this tool in the coming months ahead. And finally, the IFOPA provides educational support covering a variety of different topics. We do a lot of presentations, and we have a lot of content currently on our IFOPA website about clinical trials. We also recently developed 2 videos, one that discusses the drug development pathway, and the other is to explain clinical trials. If you're interested, please check out these videos on our YouTube channel. So that takes us through the prepared session of our webinar. I hope this provides a little bit of content and color on how the IFOPA supports research. I just want to thank you for joining this session, and thank you for your attention. And I look forward to speaking with you and answering any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So if you have questions that you'd like to send to me, you can do so in the question and answer function of your platform, of our platform. So just enter it right in and we'll address your questions. Let's see. So the first question is, can family members give samples to the FOP Biobank? The answer is yes. We do accept samples from your family members, which can be actually very valuable for researchers. It helps them to distinguish differences between individuals with FOP and individuals without FOP. So again, you can learn more about the biobank. We do have a booth set up. And you can also view more information about our biobank on the ifopa.org /biobank website. Second question is regarding the Act for FOP grant program. Is this available to international investigators? And answer to that is yes. This program is open to anyone, any investigator that is interested in studying FOP. Currently, we have 22 grants that we've supported in the past 5 years, and of those 22, about a third are actually international. This past year, we're supporting an investigator in Israel, an investigator that has been studying FOP for some time and has applied to our program. So this has become a very international program, which is great to see. It's great to have such an active research network. Let's see. So a question is regarding how do we decide what medicines or companies where we provide grants? It's a great question. So we have an independent scientific advisory board, and all the applications get submitted to this advisory board. There's 5 members. The applications are blinded, so we don't know who is submitting the application. And then we review it, and we actually have a pretty detailed scoring ranking for each one. We look at things like scientific merit, probability of success, how impactful will this be to FOP? Is the research already being done elsewhere? And just overall scientific robustness. And that's how we go through. And what we do is we actually rank all the proposals we receive. So we hold all the proposals and then we review them all together. And then we rank these from highest, most impactful to FOP to the least. And that's how we go through. And it's unfortunate that we can't fund all the grants we receive. So we do provide grant support just to the ones that kind of make it to the top. Other questions? Leave it open for another minute in case you have any more questions. One more. Okay. Next question is the barrier of entry the same for anybody, or do some need more money than others to start? Yeah, it's a good question. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And it's not just money, it's resources. So if you think about our FOP mice model, whether it's our biobank, preclinical drug testing, we're trying to lower the amount of resources required to get up and going and moving forward in FOP. And that's exactly the crux of our goal with the IFOPA, is lowering that barrier. Let's give an example where you have a researcher who is very interested, has a great idea, thinks it might work in FOP, but doesn't really have the resources to study it in their own lab. That's why we've set up the preclinical drug testing program. So you just submit your idea, or if you have the natural drug, we'll test it for you. So we really try to lower that barrier and make it as easy as possible to solicit the best ideas and test those. We want to run through as many compounds as possible and get decisions as quick as possible. And resourcing can be a challenge, especially in this environment. It's a good question. So the question is, what is the timeline of a handful of the approved gene therapies you mentioned? So some of the approved gene therapy has been around really since the early 80s. So this has been studied over a number of decades. There are currently 6 approved gene therapy products over a few decades. But what we're seeing is the time to develop and research these is quickening. So we're learning so much in the field that, back in the 90s and knots, that what took much longer to move forward in gene therapy is just rapidly advancing. So we're hopeful that some of these move quicker than in the past. Some of those other programs took 15 years, 20 years to actually develop, but we're hopeful that's quicker for our products. But it's a good point. As I mentioned, gene therapy is a difficult road. It's a long road, but it's still an investment we believe is important to start understanding and supporting. Okay. So a question about the registry. So the question is regarding how the registry is currently controlled, who decides that the data will be shared, and what are the constraints on that sharing. So the registry is a researcher asset. First of all, one of the most important principles to us is that the data that does get shared is done in a way that ensures all participant privacy. That's point number one. So anyone who participates in the registry, that data is de-identified. So anybody who accesses the registry, it's often at an aggregate level, meaning we don't send individual participant level data. It gets rolled up and reported out on more of the aggregate level. So putting that aside, that all data that goes out is maintained with confidentiality and privacy. We try to reduce actually constraints in terms of having data go out. We want to make sure that the researchers who are investigating it have a relatively accessible access to this data. This is important data about FOP, and we don't want to put barriers. With that said, we do have a medical advisory board that oversees the registry, and a selection of that advisory board review data requests, more from the perspective to make sure that it makes sense and that the data that gets generated is interpretable, and that the way we're analyzing it makes sense. But we really try to reduce access to this important data set. So next question is FOP an easier disease to find a cure because we're having a lot of trials for such rare diseases? Yeah, so it's a good question. So I have 24 years in rare disease experience, and when I came to the IFOPA 3.5 years ago, I was really pleasantly surprised how robust this community is, and how much research is ongoing, and how many drug candidates are being developed. So I agree with that comment. It does appear that we have a lot of candidates. As I mentioned, keep in mind that not all these candidates will move forward. Some of them, for one reason or another, whether it's safety or whether it's effect, just does not make it. One of the benefits in FOP is that we know the underlying cause of FOP. We know the mutation. We're beginning to understand the biology of FOP. So that, Dr. Kaplan does a nice job of painting a bullseye. By doing all this basic research that we've been supporting, UPenn's work and other labs around the world have been conducting, it helps us understand the basic biology of FOP, and from there you can begin looking for good drug candidates. Keep in mind that we've been at this for decades now, and you're starting to see a little bit of the fruit of that work in terms of more candidates becoming, moving through that development pipeline that I shared. So we're, cautiously optimistic, and we look forward to seeing those advances. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier, but we've done some of the right work in terms of understanding the disease well. Good question. Any other questions? Last chance. Okay. So thank you again. We are so grateful for all the people who have contributed to research, whether it's through fundraising, whether it's through participating in the registry, whether it's participating in clinical trials, as well as all the researchers out there who've worked tirelessly in FOP and really have moved this programs forward. And we just have a great group of dedicated people. So it's really the result of you that we're where we are today. So just want to thank everyone for that. You now have a break. You have a break until 12:30, at which time there will be another track 2 that you can select which track you want to go in, and just refer to the agenda, review the background, and make sure to visit our virtual booths as well and say hello to our sponsors. So with that, I just want to thank you again, and we'll speak soon.